What's up, guys? Welcome to the podcast today. Today it's just Eugene and I. I'm going to share an idea with you guys to start off with. What, did I say something?
He said just Eugene.
Just Eugene and I. Well, you know, it's funny.
Here.
It's just here. It's just Eugene and I.
Yeah.
Someone was asking me, they were like, a lot of times, like the students, because like when I'm lifting weights or whatever in the mornings or training, like this morning, one of the guys, Eric, was like, who do you get on the podcast today? I'm like, oh, it's just us. And I was telling him, I was like, sometimes I like talking with you, like whatever, about some ideas or whatever, and rather than having a guest on the podcast every single time, And so again, today's podcast is going to be it's going to be an idea. I shared it in one of my emails recently, which you can get those emails if you want to by going to Chewjitsu.net, and there's a little thing that says free ebook. You can get the free ebooks that I give away, and you can get the email sent to your email box. It's a bit redundant. But it's an idea that I shared on the email, and it's based upon some books that I'm reading, which I'll give you the book names and stuff in just a second. But it's some books that I'm reading, along with my normal thing where basically anytime I read anything, for some reason my brain always goes back to Jiu-Jitsu. Kind of happens when you've been doing something for 20 years. Like, you just can't, like, separate it because, like, there's, separate, like, work and life or whatever, that kind of thing. It's like, well, there is no separation, right? Like, I've been grappling for almost 21 years, right? In, like, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, like, I can't really separate the two. Like, it is, like, I was thinking about this morning, like, like someone was asking, like, what's one of the big differences, like, after training for this long? And I'm like, you become it. Right. Yeah. Like it's like you become grappling, like your body, like you're doing stuff, and I cannot explain to you. I cannot teach it to you. Like, I cannot teach you how to do some of the things that I'm doing. I can teach you technically how to do them, but as far as on how I responded to them quickly enough and everything else, it's because my body's been doing it for so damn long. It's like I can just feel. Like if someone's inside my guard, I can just feel them move a certain way, and I instantly know what they're doing. But it's not something I'm thinking about. It just instantly, you recognize it. Just like if you crumple up a piece of paper and you throw it into a trash bin, you didn't make the mathematical calculations of what it is. You just look at it and sort of, boom, there we go. Yeah. Same thing. It's like I'm not really recognizing it and thinking about, okay, he's going for it. Just, you instantly know. Yeah. So you just become it. But with that said, the ideas that I share, I think they're useful and interesting, and so hopefully you guys enjoy today's podcast. As always, thanks to our sponsors, Epic Roll, rollbjj.com. If you're in the neighborhood for some jiu-jitsu gear, t-shirts, any of that stuff. I rocked his fanny pack the other day.
You did?
I did. I rocked his fanny pack. I was griping because Eugene originally got a fanny pack and I didn't get one, so I got a fanny pack now. I'll rock around.
Do you wear it on the front or the back? We argued about this too.
It's in the front. It's your fanny. It's
your fanny's in behind you.
I know, but you can't put it on your side. It's like
on your back.
No.
We need to have a poll. Do you wear your fanny pack on the front, the side, or the back? Okay.
What good is your items if they're in the back?
They're out of the way. I can just flip it around.
I'm gonna solve this right now. We're gonna end this debate. And
what about the people that wear their they have a fanny pack, but they're not willing to wear it around their fanny? They wear it like across their shoulder.
Hold on, bro. Let me ask you a question.
All right, ask me.
Where does Hulk Hogan wear his fanny pack?
Well, that's Hulk Hogan. Look at his pants.
I understand, but where is he wearing it?
It's Hulk Hogan.
Okay, it's in the front.
Look.
Okay, let's do this. Just.
I wear mine in the front.
Let's just be quiet.
Sometimes.
I'm solving this problem right now.
This is not.
Where's Macho Man Randy Savage wearing his fanny pack?
Who's that big blue person? That blob of blue.
That's a Grimace from. But look at Randy Savage. Where is he wearing his?
All right, Chewy.
Okay.
All right.
All the '90s pro wrestlers wore their fanny packs in the front. So if I'm gonna wear my fanny pack, damn it, I'm gonna wear it on the front.
All right. Well. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. It just is. Chewy.
What do you mean wrong or right? There's a right way to wear a fanny pack, and it's on the front.
Some of us draw a line in the sand.
But anyway, I got I'm a big fan of his stuff. If you guys have watched one of my videos recently, I had on the Kimura shirt, which is basically, it's one of those shirts where that I talked about the triangle shirt. It says Kimura, and then it gives a definition to it. And it's a really cool, simple shirt. If you want to check that out, it's at his website at epicrollbjj.com, along with the gis, which are good, and they're well priced. And he also has a lot of cool no-gi gear, including non-Velcro shorts. Again, I talk about those things. I wore them today. They've become like you know. Do you ever have like stuff in your gear, your like one of your gis and stuff like, and you begin to have favorite gis or favorite and like you have a rotation, but the favorites always kind of get used a lot more.
Yeah.
So his shorts, the non-Velcro shorts, have become my favorites in no-gi. So again, I'll use other ones if I have to, but if if those are fresh and I'm like choosing, those are getting worn. And so I'm a big fan of those.
I'm waiting for the shorter ones, shorter cut.
They're still not terribly long.
No, they're not. They're actually they're good.
Yeah.
But I want shorter ones.
You want short shorts.
I do.
So if you guys want to check them out, you can go to epicrollbjj.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu. You'll save 15% on the order, and you can get yourself some cool gear. Also, big thanks to our sponsor, Charlotte's Web. Earlier, Eugene said Charlotte's Web.
I did.
Charlotte's Web. You say it with the awes.
I didn't mean to.
My little sister, she used to have trouble saying awes.
Yeah.
She would say like woad.
Yeah.
And when she say world, it would be wold.
It's cute.
Yeah. I wonder what my speech impediment was, because I remember when I was a kid, like when I was in kindergarten, I had to go back, like behind the school, there was a trailer. And like, well, no, not like a, like a.
Where is this going? Oh
no.
Chewy, it's okay.
Not like a double wide. I'm talking about like, like they'd have these like little like
this trailer for special needs kids.
Kind of, yeah.
Why would they have a trailer? Why wouldn't it be at the school?
Well, it was like in the school grounds. It was like basically, like the school would have its fencing and stuff like that, and then right in the back of the school, you'd have this air conditioned like little trailer area, and they had these like special rooms where you could work one-on-one with particular people, like special stuff. And I apparently I had some problems with speech when I was younger.
Okay.
Because I remember I had to like go there and get classes for work with a teacher for talking stuff. For talking, really. I don't remember what I messed up, but I remember I used to have there were a lot of words that I used to have trouble with when I was a kid.
Huh.
But yeah. So I don't even know why I was why did I get on that?
I have no idea.
There was a point that I was going to make,
but I don't know what it was.
Well, anyway.
Oh, you were talking about Charlotte's Web, and then you made fun of me for misspeaking.
That's right. I just went on a tangent.
You did.
That story has nothing to do with Charlotte's Web. But again, I'm a big fan of this stuff. I always tell people this, because again, I know people hear these things that pop up, like, I don't even know half the time if you guys even listen to the rolls that we do related to the products. If you do, you probably should, because there's all kinds of random stuff that we throw in there like that.
Just now,
right? But I know you guys probably hear this stuff all the time from different people, and you're like, oh, buy this product, whatever. Again, any of the products that are on here that we use them and we like them. I use Charlotte's Web. I use it all the time. I was telling one of my students this the other day. I'm putting some supplement packages together for the guys at the gym, and like a basic diet template for some of the people in the gym, and it's all stuff that I've used or use.
Yeah,
like I cannot, with my own integrity, I cannot direct you to do something that I have not used or think is valuable. So it is what it is. But again, if you use Charlotte's Web with any of the products with CBD, what I would encourage you to do is just try it out for a month. I say that because, again, it's like Jiu-Jitsu. You go train Jiu-Jitsu. The first time when you see Jiu-Jitsu, you get it, you understand, but then when you feel it, it's a different thing. A lot of times people hear the benefits of stuff, and they're like, oh, okay, cool, it sounds good, whatever. But then they get it, and they're like, man, that's pretty good. Like one of the guys at the gym a while ago, I gave him like a free sample. I was like, try this stuff out, and he was like, a couple days later, he used the samples, and he's like, bro, like, what did you give me? Because I need to get that again. That was good. Like, he's like, man, I felt great. My sleep was improved. Everything else, I felt more well rested. All this good stuff, right? And again, for me, I had heard about Charlotte's Web. I'd heard about CBD for years.
Yeah. And
then like someone rubbed some balm on my back. I was like, oh wow, this pain that's been bothering me for months is gone. And then all of a sudden, I started taking the CBD, like the actual droplets and the gummies and stuff. And it's like, man, like not only is like my sleep sweep. I just
There it is.
I just messed it up. Need to go back to my trailer. My sleep quality's improved. And along with that, like I also like these nagging injuries that were bothering me. This like I guess just inflammation from training and stuff like that seemed to be gone. Magical, right? Now it doesn't do it for everybody, but again, you should check it out and try it if you're interested. So you can try out their stuff. They have the regular CBD stuff, and they also have like a THC free formula, which you can read about. Find more information out if you're like one of those people that really wants to try it, but you can't. You can't because of tests and stuff like that. I used the THC free one and it was fine.
Yeah,
I felt this. I didn't feel any difference. It wasn't like
I think the milligrams a little higher. I believe. I think you have to take a little bit more possibly, but it's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
So if you want to check out any of their stuff, you can go to charlottesweb.com. Promo code is Chewjitsu. Use that at checkout, and you'll save 15% on.
Wait a second.
What?
20%.
Oh.
Just for the month of June.
Just for the month of June.
Month of June, you use code Chewjitsu, you'll get 20% off.
20% off. Okay, so 20% off the order. That's a good deal.
We didn't plan that at all.
No, we didn't plan it. He told me about it before.
Hold the phone.
And I forgot. Hold the phone. Wow. 20% off. Holy crap.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah, right. That totally wasn't. Actually, that wasn't planned. He originally told me that it was going to be 20% off. And I forgot.
You just don't listen to me ever.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah,
I do listen.
I feel very important anymore. I don't feel very important, Chewy.
Oh,
made fun of my speech impediment.
Oh, Eugene.
Okay, stop that.
Yeah,
that's weird.
I gotta give you a pet name.
A cutesy name.
Yeah, cutesy name. Yeah. Since you're being all like whiny.
I'm emotional. I'm in touch with my feelings, Chewy. Leave it alone. Is it wrong for me to feel? Feel things?
You're so stupid. We're in a mood today.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, Eugene's over here like filling himself out.
I'm just getting in touch with my feelings.
Yeah, Eugene doesn't wear pants on the podcast. I don't know if you guys never knew that. Like he never stands up, and there's a reason for that.
Did you ever see? Did you ever see these? Like on ESPN, there's a show. These two guys argue. There's every show on ESPN. Two guys are arguing or whatever.
It's
but
just
like
TV
they wear like sport coats and stuff and ties, and they're like wearing like shorts underneath.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, did you? We were talking about this last night at the gym. Like, did you see where like the Zoom stuff like this year, like where like there's just endless amounts of video, like so many videos where like guys are. Either like people are standing up and they either stand up and they don't have pants on, like they have shirts and stuff, but they don't have pants
during.
Well, they'll forget, right? Because you're in your home.
Yeah.
Like because again, people forget sometimes because they're in their home, they're not at work, and so they'll be there and they'll think they clicked off the thing and they'll stand up and they'll have like underwear on.
I don't trust it until that like camera is like flipped down. Yeah. Until it's like turned off. I'm not.
The best one was there was like I've seen a couple of them where like as soon as like they stopped. Dude looks like he was
getting busy
watching some pornography.
No.
And
I'll tell you, but of Zoom stuff, switching angles here, the guy that did a screen, he made like a video on a screen of himself bringing himself coffee. It was the coolest thing. He's sitting there and like during the meeting, he's sitting there and there's a image of him like walking up and like setting a cup of coffee down, and then he takes a drink.
What about the guy, the lawyer that was had the cat thing up there?
Oh, the cat.
Judge, I'm not a cat. That was.
I remember that,
bro. It was so funny.
That was amazing. What do you say at that point? You're like,
bro, and how and neither one of those guys were laughing.
I think they laughed afterwards. Probably.
Maybe a little bit. I
would feel bad for them.
Bro, I'd be laughing my face off. That's hilarious. Because
I promise I'm not a cat.
Well, no, he was like, Judge. You kind of had this little bit of a high pitch, but my favorite part was the cat's eyes, because because the cat looked very worried, and he's like, well, Judge, we're trying to fix it, and
the eyes get big.
Yeah, the eyes got big, moves. And they're like looking around. I was like, it was so ridiculous. It was fantastic.
Do that. Yeah. We should record a whole podcast like that.
Yeah, we should do that. We should
as cats.
Yeah, we could probably do like a deep fake now and just put like a cat head on our face.
It'd be all right.
Yeah. Also, guys, if you want to check out the patreon.com.
What are we doing?
We're just talking.
All right.
That's what's happening.
Enjoy the ride.
If you guys want to go to our Patreon at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast, not only does it support the podcast, but it gives you access to a boatload of content, including what we recently uploaded, which was a video. It's basically it's a narrated breakdown where I'm going through and showing people like in this. And later on in this podcast, we'll talk about it, where I'm talking about like kind of rolling a little more relaxed.
Yeah.
You'll hear me talk about this when I talk about one of the question we answer. Well, you'll see that in action. You'll actually see what that looks like. Because I'm doing it. Like, that's me doing it, because that's when it was recorded. It's me rolling in a little bit more chill fashion, explaining the idea behind it. And so, again, if you want to get that narrated breakdown plus, years worth of content, both podcast extras where we talk to the guests, some just conversations between Eugene and I, and also some videos of rolling, training, all kinds of other stuff, warm-up stretches, the whole deal. If you want to check that out, you can go to patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast, and you get access to that. And again, if you want to join my weekly email list, you can do that by going to jujitsu.net, and at the top there's a button that says free ebook. You click on free ebook, you'll get multiple free ebooks sent to you by email, and then you'll get a daily email from me. And if for some reason at any point you don't want to get the emails, you can just unsubscribe, and that's that. And guys, with all that said, with all that stuff out of here, the longest like pre-roll or whatever we call this thing, this longest intro, let's get into the podcast. All right, guys. So today's podcast, I wanted to share a little bit of an idea with you to start off with. Stick around to sort of see how it ties in, because at first it's going to see like it probably doesn't. But it comes from recently. I've been it's by happenstance, like with just to kind of maybe give you something to check out. I've been listening to the Dan Carlin podcast, right? The Hardcore History. I'm sure everybody knows it. Some people will say like, "Hey, do you listen to Dan Carlin?" I'm like, "Dude, I've been listening to that guy since like 2009."
Well, I know you're a big history buff.
Yeah, like I found his stuff. Like I found his podcast back in 2009 and started listening to the Ghost of the Ostfront. That was the first one. I think it was the Ghost of the Ostfront. It was the first series I listened to, and then sort of found them ever since.
They're like 4 hours long. Like,
well, they didn't used to be.
Like, they were super long.
Yeah, they didn't used to be. They used to be kind of short, and then towards when he started filming or recording the Death Throes of the Republic and the Mongol section, it just got longer and longer. Now they're like audiobooks. But I always go through the reading list. And so one of my students recommended to read Bomber Mafia, which I thought was interesting. It's by Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay.
It was kind of based on his revisionist podcast that he does, revisionist history podcast, which again thought was interesting. I don't necessarily agree with everything about it, but I thought it was really interesting. And then at the same time, Dan Carlin's been doing one which is on the Pacific theater of World War II.
Okay.
For the United States, that was one of our big ones, right? And so with that, I went through his reading list, and there was a couple of really good memoirs. One is called With the Old Breed. It's by a guy named Eugene Sledge. I was not familiar with it up until then. And it's
you just say it again, the Old Breed.
With the Old Breed.
With the Old Breed.
By E.B. Sledge. Really good book. It's one of those things when you read it, you're like, okay, now I understand why like some of these veterans don't like talk about it, because nobody can understand. You won't get it.
Kind of like what they went through.
Yeah, what they went through. You cannot understand. Unless you were there, you cannot possibly understand what they were going through. The other one, which is a collection of stories from people, was The Things Our Fathers Saw, and that one is by Matthew Rozell. Interesting books, but to get to it, one of the things that's this theme that popped up over and over again, which again with my jiu-jitsu brain, which is what it does, I always sort of draw connections to it. And so in the book, when Eugene Sledge is talking about when they're doing this island hopping campaign, he was talking about the difference between a veteran and kind of a new soldier that sort of just got added to their company, their battalion, their platoon, their squad. I don't know what you would call it. I don't know the right way to say it, but when they got added into the group there on the fighting, he was talking about the difference. And these new guys would be very like nervous and afraid and stuff, and they're all scared. Don't get me wrong. He talks about no matter what, every time you're getting ready to jump into this island, you're holding your rosary, saying your prayers. But he said that there was a sort of a change in like the veterans, where there's this acceptance with death and almost a detachment from it. Like you almost just accept it's going to happen. You don't know when, but it's going to happen because you've seen so much of it, and you've seen your friends die, you've seen all this stuff happen. You just know it's going to happen. This acceptance. And so because of that, it allows you to do things that the new soldier couldn't do, because this new soldier is so stricken with worry and fear and everything else. Whereas like your acceptance, while it doesn't necessarily get rid of the fear, it allows you to move around, to be more aggressive. And again, it's by acceptance. It doesn't mean you're inviting it. You don't want to die and you're going to do everything you can not to. But there's a certain detachment from the worry of death, because you're like, at this point, you're like, it's going to happen. We're just getting chewed up here. And with my brain, where I went with is this this idea where, because when I started reading it, we were competing, and some of the guys that were competing at this competition that weekend it was like their first competition, or for some of them it was like their first IBJJF competition, which the name associated with it sometimes can get kind of mess with people's heads. And you notice the fear of losing. You can see it. They're all amped up, whatever else, and they don't want to happen. And then, some of them lost, right? And I think about me, because that used to be one of my big fears back in the day, was losing. I didn't want to lose. Right? I just didn't want to let people down. I didn't want to do this, whatever. And then as you compete longer and longer and longer, you just realize, look, we're going to lose. Like, you're just going to lose. It's something that's going to happen. You don't know when. It's not an if, it's a win. But by accepting it, you're able to, for me at least, and again, this may not work for everybody, but for me, when I accepted the losing part of it, I got out of my own way. Like, when I compete, I can go for things and I'm not worried about losing. Like, I'm going to go for things 100%. There's no worry about, like, well, what happens if I don't care? Like, I'm going to go for the submission. I'm going to go for the takedown. I'm going to go for the sweep, whatever it might be, because I'm going to go for it, because I'm not worried about losing, because I know I'm going to lose at some point. I've accepted that. But for now, I'm going to go with this. And I'm just going to see what I can do. I'm going to go after it and be very aggressive. Now, again, obviously with Jiu-Jitsu, we're not experiencing death or a war or anything like that. It's not even close. Like, we have like a 0% chance of dying, right? Like, we're fine. But there's still that sliver of human experience where, when you have fear of anything, you have the fear of the outcome there, it really messes with what you can do. Even in the book 11 Rings, which was by Phil Jackson, where he's talking about, being a coach for the Chicago Bulls and the Lakers, he talks about this certain acceptance where, like, one of the seasons where they lost, like Michael Jordan comes back and they lost, right? Yeah. And they lost, and it was like, okay, we lost. So what? We can lose too. Acceptance to it, right? And then it was like, let's shake up and let's come back the next year and come back after it, and with that acceptance to it. And so I just think it's a useful idea. Like, again, it's one of those things where if you want to be effective on the mats, right? Whether even this is even true in training, for a long time, I had a hell of a time accepting losing. Like, to give you a picture, when I would get submitted by people, I'd get up and stomp and get angry and everything else. And I couldn't play with different techniques and new positions. Like, I had my A game, which was good to have. It's good to get an A game early on, figure out what you're good with, at least to some degree, because, then you can play the game. You can't play the game if you're always experimenting. If you don't have anything that you're good with, you can't even play the game. It's like someone handing you a controller to a video game you've never played before. Like, you're going to play and you're not going to put any points on the board for a while. And then as you figure out the controls, I can put some points on the board. Yep. It becomes fun. If you never score at all, you're just going to stop playing. So it's fun. Like, when you figure out some moves that you're good with, then you can kind of play the game a little bit. You crack that nut, so to speak. Yeah. But then you always have to continuously experiment. Well, you can't experiment if you can't accept just losing. It's one of the reasons why, like, whenever I'm playing with, like, leg locks, like today, for instance, we did leg lock class. I had we start in a position, and the first thing that we do is make them start in a position where I'm basically, like today, we started them in 50-50. One person was going for the submission, the other person was defending. By defending, I did not want them to escape. I simply wanted them to slow down the inevitable. And almost everybody got submitted. What I'm doing there is I'm kind of priming them, like, hey, look, you're going to get submitted. Just be okay with it. Just tap, right? Don't hold on too long. You got to learn how to play. Be okay with tapping out. How many times have we had someone come in where they're like struggling? No, you're like, no, just tap, bro. It's cool. Same thing. You got to learn to accept it. Otherwise, you're gonna get hurt, or your game's gonna suck. And so it's the same thing there. You see in all these different places this acceptance with, like, not having the desirable outcome, and with the acceptance of it, you're able to be more aggressive. You're able to go for the thing that you actually want to happen, rather than being hamstrung, right? Like, in the book, he was talking about this one particular campaign. He's able to go and do certain things where the new guys, they're frozen. And I've talked to several, like, veterans before too, who've had similar experiences or known people to have similar experiences where, the first fight they're in, where the guns are getting shot at them, right, or bullets are being shot at them. Like, some people, like, the guys that have experienced it before, again, they're not out there like running, like, exposing themselves to the bullets necessarily, but they're moving around doing stuff they got to do, where some of the other guys are like almost frozen a bit.
Yeah.
And over time, as they become more inoculated to it and they accept, this is just what we're doing, it's a different situation. But I think it's important for people that are going to compete. You've got to accept the fact that you're going to lose. And it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. You can think of the best grapplers from Roger Gracie, Marcelo Garcia, Gordon Ryan, all those guys have losses on the record at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's lost, it's just what it is. But by accepting that you're going to lose and just being okay with that, then it allows you to just sort of dash that worry to the side and really be as effective as you can possibly be, because the way you do that is with like just going for it. It's almost like just yesterday, one of the guys, one of my black belts, we were having this conversation. He was talking about how for some reason the best days that he has in the gym are the days where he feels like he's off. The days where he doesn't feel like he's really ready to get after it, We were kind of just talking about it. And, I was like sort of talking about it because I had the same experience when I was younger. And for me, that experience was because a lot of times when I felt I was off, I knew I was going to get beat. I was like, all right, I'm going to get submitted, whatever, who cares? Like, I'm not 100%. But what's neat is that puts you in a mindset where, you're willing to play the game, but at the same time, you're not necessarily worried about the outcome, and you're able to play around and be a lot more effective. Some of my best like breakthrough days back in the day were the days where I came in the gym, I wasn't feeling too hot. I accepted the fact I was going to be the nail that day. I accepted that. And I came in and I was like somehow just unlock something, right? And then I'd come in like the next day and be like, all right, I'm gonna get back after it like I did yesterday. I'm gonna kill it today. And then I would flop. You're like, damn, dude. Like, and again, it's a mindset thing, because I'm trying to force it, or I'm just kind of accepting it. It's just a different situation. Now, again, I'm not saying that everybody has to do that. And maybe that's not in everybody's way, because maybe you're too loose and you need to be a little bit more forceful.
Yeah.
But for, I think, a lot of people, it would be useful to, like, when you're thinking about the failures, everybody's so worried about it. I mean, think about like people even in other forms of stuff off the mat. Right? Think about how many people don't do something because they're afraid. They'll keep putting it off. Oh, I'll start this business later. Like I got to do a little more studying. I got to do a little more research or something like this. Whatever. They put things off instead of jumping into it because they're too worried. But when you accept it, like for instance, if you get into something, we were talking about this before the podcast. I like to jump into things because I know 100% I've accepted the fact that I'm going to like fall flat on my face with it. You figure it out on the way. You'll figure it out. You'll be all right. You'll figure it out. Again, it's a little different with war necessarily.
Yeah.
But just taking a sliver of that idea. Again, that's what I just want to make sure I just reiterate that war is a different animal. Like
yeah.
It's so completely different. But just that thread of human of experience where we get hung up on the outcome and how it can literally freeze you from doing the things that you want to do, that you need to do to make a positive outcome happen, just for the fear of what the possible negative outcome could be. And so again, just I thought it was a useful idea. I shared it in one of my emails the other day, and a bunch of people sent me messages. So figured I'd share with you guys on the podcast in case you're not on the email list.
So let's talk about a couple things here. In the book, I don't know how far into it you are, did they discuss like when that transition, when that phenomenon kind of happened? Mm-mm. Was it a certain number of
No, it wasn't like
time?
A certain number. No, it was just like kind of just saying like there's just the difference. Like
you just see them.
You just accept it.
Well, yeah, I think it's a combination of obviously like not having that fear of death, but also like having the kind of like the time under tension kind of thing. Like you have more experience being in the trenches, doing that stuff. So I think, and same thing with competition. I think there's two pieces to it where it's like you've got more experience in this thing, but also, so you have a comfort level. But then also like, yeah, I think the losses and sting is bad.
Yeah,
it's because you've had more losses already at that point. It's not like such a large ripple or such like a it's more like a ripple instead of a wave kind of thing. Like it's not as dramatic in your, because you had so much time, like for example time on the mats kind of thing. You have so much more time that you've dealt with it, so it's just not as it's not as big of a percentage of your time.
Yeah. So when you were asking about when it strikes, there's a passage I noted, and basically the guy says, slowly the reality of it all formed in my mind. We were expendable. It was difficult to accept, We come from a nation and a culture that values life and the individual. To find oneself in a situation where your life seems of little value is the ultimate in loneliness. It is a humbling experience. Most of the combat veterans had already grappled with this realization on Guadalcanal or Gloucestershire. I'm saying it wrong. It said, but it struck me out in that swamp. So basically, just saying like it just struck them out of the blue.
Everybody just has it's like you just get it. You just get that moment where all of a sudden it's just not a big deal. Yeah. What would you say? Like,
well, it's a big deal, but it's like you accept it. You just accept that it is what it is.
Well, it's a bigger deal, obviously, in war because the consequence is death.
But everybody, I think everybody has these realizations about a lot of things where you just accept it. Like we do we do our best to resist things and try to make sure things that never happen. Like we'll plan and make sure nothing bad happens, whatever. But it's like it's just gonna happen, man.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing you can do sometimes.
So in your experience,
like even like injuries,
okay,
they're gonna happen.
Yeah.
So like for instance, you do your best to never let them happen, but they're going to happen. There's nothing around it. So what are you going to do when it happens? How are you going to respond to it? Like again, it's going to happen. So
yeah, you get better injury wise. You get better at mitigating or working around them, or
like you just do what you can.
Right.
But it's going to happen.
And injuries are interesting because they take just as much of a mental toll as a physical toll. Because the fear of re-injury is on your mind. When you step on the mats the first time after you're injured and you step on the mats again, you're like, oh shit, I'm going to try to do everything not to get hurt. And then, by that attitude, you actually get hurt sometimes. You're more likely to get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're like, you're not going for things.
You're not moving normally. I wanted to ask you, you've, in your years of coaching, is there something you see in an athlete, like when you or one of our students, when you see them in competition, you see them, they're playing a different game now when they're competing or when they're training. Is there something you see them do, or is there like a belt level maybe that you see, like, and it's probably different for everybody, obviously, but is there like a belt level you're like, oh yeah, he's starting to hit that groove? Or I think for me it was maybe around, like, I got comfortable, like I would say for a specific belt.
What are we talking about, competitions?
Just in general, like
in general,
you can think of training, but also in competition, because those things are totally different. Some people are gym rats, but they never compete.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like when we talk about competitions, like as far as playing their game, it's not a belt level. It's more of an experience thing. One of the things that will happen, it just happened for two of our guys. They went to one competition. They did not play their games, looked awkward, off, whatever.
Yeah.
Went next week to another competition, killed it. Gold medals, double golds, right? So like one, they fudged up. The other one, they did really well at. Lost. All right, I lost, shook it off. Let's go compete. Let's go do what we're supposed to do. We went out there and worried about losing, and we didn't play our game. All right, let's not do that again. So let's screw the worry about losing, and let's just go play our games. Did better. As far as the belt level, it's not necessarily about a belt thing. I think one of the things that you can see a lot of times is the people that are, as far as playing the game, is like the more loose a person can be, so to speak, mentally, the better off they'll be. Like you can roll with someone sometimes and feel the tenseness in them.
Oh yeah.
And like their unwillingness to try things. If you can find someone that's really just willing to just mess it up, like that person, they're better. It's a better mindset to have. Like there's some people, it's like they're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like they need to know every little thing. What's the right technique? And then there's other people that just screw stuff up. To me, most of the time, the people that are just like willing to try stuff, they tend to fare better on the mats because they're not worried about like what am I supposed to do? I'll figure it out.
They're not scared to lose.
Or they're not scared to try something. It's not about losing. It's like just try something, just do it, right? Just grab that arm and see where it goes. Make a choice and just run with it. If it doesn't work, well, you'll learn next time not to do it. Just roll with it. But a lot of people get hamstrung because they like don't know the exact thing they're supposed to do. And think about that as kids, we're indoctrinated into a system where we're told there's a right and a wrong way to do everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like when we look at school, everything in school is like right or wrong, good or bad. There's not a lot of like, well, it's negotiable. It's maybes.
Well, there's an A, there's a B.
There's an A, B, there's a C, D, E. There's a lot of stuff. And like we don't have a test where it's like A, B, C, D are all right. they're just different ways of doing the same thing, right? We're just like one of these is right and the rest are wrong. So like we get worried about doing the wrong thing all the time, where it's like a lot of times like when you get into experiences and things like that, there's not always a right answer. And so even with jiu-jitsu, like you talk to like 6 black belts, ask them a question, they'll give you a different answer each one of them, and every one of them is a right answer because it's right for them. It's just different. Right? It's just, I mean, like there's not always right answers to everything. It's just like even like everything in life, right? If I ask you, if we went through and talked about different beliefs and things that we like, our belief systems and things, we're gonna disagree on certain areas. Not even disagree. We're just gonna have differences.
Yeah.
You're gonna believe in certain things. I'm gonna believe in certain things. Doesn't mean either one of them are wrong. It just means they're different. Because again, everything's shaped from our own thoughts. So what you might believe might be different than me, and it isn't necessarily right or wrong. It just is.
I think, you know, in jiu-jitsu terms, I think it comes down to why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you doing jiu-jitsu? I think that's part of it. Like, what does it mean? Like, how much stock do you put in like jiu-jitsu? Like, how much value do you put on yourself? Like, whether you win or lose, like, right? Like, it's jiu-jitsu, right? So you're doing this, and you say it all the time. You're like, it's a competition. Nobody cares outside of this competition. But what do you state? Like, are you like, oh shit, I suck at life. I suck at everything. I'm a failure at, you know, do you attribute it to like life in general? Like, because why do you do jiu-jitsu? Like, why, what does it mean to you, and how much, and what's the purpose? I think the value you put on it is something that can, I think, affect the, you know, if you lose, or how you handle, and also how you handle loss, how you've handled losses in your life versus, you know, I think it's one of those things I always think about, that like, you know, your jiu-jitsu, a loss in jiu-jitsu, how do you take that? How do you internalize it? What does it mean to you? Like, do you beat yourself up over it? You know, how much, or are you like use it as motivation? You know, also we talked about that, you know, before the podcast. Like, how do you deal with failure? That's another thing. Like, are you used to dealing with failure? So it's like, oh, I've had failure. I've overcome it many times, and it's just another thing, and I know how to work my way around it. Or is a failure, I suck, and then you're gonna just kind of decline from that, and you're gonna feel basically unmotivated, or you're gonna lose that fire a little bit.
Well, and that depends on whether or not you're good at separating what happened from who you are.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, like a lot of times when something happens, they like link it to who they are. So for instance, like, I mean, I did this when I was younger. If I lost in jiu-jitsu, I sucked.
Right.
Like, no, you didn't suck. You made a mistake. You're working, you'll improve. Right. Although maybe that mindset was useful to me at the time because it made me train harder or whatever, but I think it still was a bit of a hindrance. But a lot of people, like, they, you know, when something bad happens, they put it onto themselves. It's somehow like it's a blow to their character, their ego, and who they are as a person, rather than simply, hey, this thing happened, right? Like you look at like a lot of people that are victims to different abuses and stuff. A lot of times there's like this like self like I caused this. It's like, you know, it's me or whatever. Like no, it's like it's just that's something that happened. And so how good are you at detaching from the things? Like, you know, again, if you lose, can you just detach from it and view it for what it is? Like, it's just a loss. You like some person in some random gymnasium put you in a particular lock. You made a mistake for 1 second, got caught in. Things happen. How can you detach yourself from that, right? That's what it really comes down to. I mean, as far as like competing and stuff, and even in the gym, like, how well can you just get out there and just play around and do some stuff and not get all bent out of shape if something bad happens? Like there's nothing wrong with being driven. Like driven's good. You know, like I'm driven to be better all the time. But God bless, like every time, like if you lose, if you drive home beating yourself up, and I did it.
I did it too.
I did it. You know, and like again, maybe this is just one of those things where it's easier to say after it's over.
Yeah.
Like for, you know, because again, sometimes it's like you talk to people like if you're like, for instance, you'll hear a person that's got some money in their pocket, you know, doing pretty well for themselves. Well, money's not everything. Well, it sure is to a person that's flat broke. You know, it's like, or looks aren't everything. Easy to say if you're good looking, right? So, you know, maybe it's easy to say like, hey, don't beat yourself up when you're kind of sitting somewhere on the higher end of the friggin' totem pole. Where in the beginning it's like, man, like it would be nice to be able to say that, but you know, like again, we we wrap our identity so much around the things that we do,
and things we love doing too.
Things we love doing, right? Things that we think are important, or things that are important to us. We hold a lot of our identity to those. For instance, someone says, "Hey, who are you? Who is Eugene?" Like you're going to explain to Eugene, well, I'm Eugene and I'm a physical therapist and I'm a this. And you're going to explain to me all the things you do, right? So that becomes your identity, this thing, all the things that you do. That's your ego. And so then again, if like, for some reason, if something was to threaten your status as a good physical therapist, it would be a bit of a crack up. Like, oh, I thought I was a good physical therapist, and who am I? Or this is why people a lot of times struggle. I mean, like athletes, they struggle when they have to no longer be athletes as they get older. Like, because again, their identity is being an athlete. So who are you if you're not an athlete? Who are you? And if you've never explored that question and really done some deep thinking, that can really be a blow, because your ego is like, you went from being this athlete to who are you now? And so again, you have to be detached from all those things that you do, because they're not who you are. They're things you do. They make up a section of of your experience in your life, but they're not who you are necessarily. But
yeah, I'm one of those people that likes that beats himself up. Definitely, like I've gotten better about it, with certain things, but sometimes things will sting, like on the mats, because
it's not a bad thing.
Well, yeah,
I don't know,
it's
man.
not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. I think you have to have some of that. You have to experience and know that
there's
some of that sting is there, and you got to know it. You got to. It's a driving force. It can be.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, I don't want to experience that again.
Right.
But also, you can't let it consume you and be like, that's the only motivator is not experiencing that thing, right?
Yeah, because then because if you're just worried about you might. Well, I'm not doing every competition again because I lost.
Or I'm just going to avoid. I'm going to avoid no-gi because I don't want to do leg locks because I suck at them or whatever.
Instead of saying like, just look, I'll just learn.
One of our training partners, I think does really great. Actually, a couple people that I've seen, like Matt Harrison's one of those guys that will like go out. He'll compete against anybody. He does it all the time. He's a gamer, and dude, he's always like in a good mood. Wins, loses. I never see him get upset. I'm sure he does,
of course he gets
but
upset. He gets
I just never see him like not shake somebody's hand or not have a smile on his face, even after like a tough roll. And he's always that he's one of the guys that that I look at and I'm like, man, he's got like, he embodies like the attitude of an athlete or Jiu-Jitsu. Like just seems like he's always positive in that, and that's something for Matt. I think that's one of Matt's strongest attributes. I mean, he's a good Jiu-Jitsu guy, of course, a black belt, but like one of his things that if I look at athletes in the gym that's one of the things I look at. And I was thinking, for some reason, I was like, if I could create like the perfect Jiu-Jitsu player, right? I was just thinking about like, Gordon Ryan's this or Andre Galval's take, whatever, I was just thinking about that, like at the gym, like who has like these things that they do really, really well.
Well, I mean, if you think about Matt's, here's a fun thing about Matt, like fun sort of thing to think about his game. He's won a lot of matches at like the end. Like he's
never gives up.
Like there's a couple times where he's competed and like there'd be these like submission only style stuff where he's getting smashed for a while and then he'll come back and get it, And a person without his mindset would have given up because of frustration. They would have just done something stupid because they're like, this sucks, whatever. And he just somehow just rolls with it and then ends up trying on the
Doesn't get discouraged. I think Dustin's another guy who's like done so much. He's one of our brown belts. He's another guy that I look at that would like kind of was a little bit slow going at the beginning, and then he just like the snowball started rolling, and he was always game, always just attacking, always just like, it seemed like he was always competing, always training and stuff. So he's another one that was like, and Dustin's gotten really good, over time, and he was just another one that just seemed like he was just always kind of in it and had a good perspective on training.
Yeah, he wasn't always beating himself up. But I think, there's nothing wrong with being frustrated, I don't think, because like, like you gotta be pissed off sometimes, like when something doesn't go your way. Like if you're training real hard, whatever, you got to be a little pissed off about it.
Yeah, I think
make sure it doesn't happen again. The thing is it's not who you are.
Right.
And again, that's the whole thing. It's the acceptance and the detachment from it. There's the difference where a lot of people like can become associated with it, like, oh, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
No, you failed. It happened.
Yeah,
you're not
failed
a failure
doing this thing.
You failed.
Yeah.
Two different things. Being a failure, being a quitter versus No, I failed once. Just it's an experience.
Well, yeah, I think if you associate your being and your who you are with this thing that you do, you're gonna have a sense of value on yourself. That's it's gonna go up and down based on how well you do on this thing.
Right.
When really you are who you are. Like I think,
but a lot of people do that.
They do.
A lot of people derive their self-worth off of like, okay, how good am I doing at the things that I'm doing? Or, what kind of car do I drive? What kind of house do I have? All this shit. Like, it's all this stuff. And again, there's nothing wrong with having nice stuff and whatever. But again, those things aren't you. They're things you've gotten, the things you've accomplished, things you've purchased or whatever, but they're not you necessarily. And then, again, if you don't know who you are, if those are the things you think you are, if you don't know who you really are, like, it's a weird place to be.
Well, it's like what helped you as far as like separating those two things? Like initially, training and kind of having that negative feeling when things didn't go your way on the mats. Like, what is there anything that you did that kind of helped you? Was it just a time thing? Is there anything you think you did maybe that helped you?
Are we talking about competition or just rolling?
Just in general, like your jiu-jitsu, just in general. I mean, even getting caught on the mats, just training. I mean, that can be kind of.
When I was younger, I used to get like all pissed off if I would lose.
Yeah.
I'd stomp the mats. Sometimes I'd cuss, and I'd roll at you like 110% afterwards if I got submitted. But my coaches at the time were like, dude, you got to try different stuff. You got to do different things. And, it almost gets beaten out of you, so to speak, because you get submitted so much that you're like, look, I'm just getting submitted. It happens all the time because I was trying new stuff.
Yeah.
My coach would sometimes put me like, for instance, if I wasn't working on it, like he would just put me in positions. I remember 1 month I started in triangles positions in a lock triangle every single roll. So, I mean, I submitted a lot. The other one was like he put me in like let someone put a straight ankle on me and I had to escape, like because I got submitted with a leg lock. So he put me straight ankle lock position and had to escape. Got submitted a lot. So you just kind of get beaten out of you.
Yeah.
You just like, all right, like, okay, like I'm getting submitted. It's not that big of a deal, because it can't be. How can it be a big deal? It happens all the time right now.
Yeah.
Same thing with competitions, like losing and winning. It's like I've won some, I've lost some. It's like, I don't know, like the wins are fine, but I feel good when I do, but it's not like it's like I'm not done.
Yeah.
It's like I won one, right? Cool. And then even some of the tournaments where I remember when I was younger and I won some and I thought like, oh man, this is a big deal. Or I thought it was going to be a big deal and then I won. I was like, it's a tournament. I won.
Yeah.
Whatever. Losing, lost so many I can't count. Won far more, but lost a lot.
Yeah.
Lost a lot. And again, it's just like one of those things where whatever. So you kind of gets beaten out of you, So and that's why I think maybe there's a certain element where as you get better, maybe it's easy to come from this vantage point where you can say, oh, listen, like it's not that big of a deal.
I think it's a tricky thing at black belt because you feel like, it's something that, and for everybody's got different goals, When I started, it wasn't really something that was on the radar for me, like getting a black belt. And then when I got it, I was a little bit like, am I worth this thing? Like my game almost kind of tightened up. Like, not I'm saying got better, but almost like got more restrictive because I didn't want to lose. I was like, I got this belt now. And like, after a while, you kind of start to get used to, you kind of acclimate to it. Just like any belt, you kind of, I remember like a purple belt, like I was like, not doing terribly great, and then I got to a point where I just got so comfortable and I got used to it. And so I think it's just one of those things, you get used to it. You get used to maybe a different belt, or you see it all the time with promotions, like somebody gets a blue belt and they're like, oh shit, now I've got this bigger target, I can't lose. So but once you settle in, so I think with experience, with time, with just being like you said, getting used to losing a little bit, and I mean obviously understanding that there's a sting there, but not let it
think about it like this. Any experience you have in life, right? Like it becomes less and less of a big deal. So think about like when you're a kid. I always talk about this. Like, so for instance, when you're a kid and you experience things when you're a kid or a teenager or whatever, it's always the biggest deal ever.
Right.
Because it's the first time. The first close family member you ever lose, holy moly. And if you're not a kid when you experience it, doesn't matter. The first time it happens, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Later on, not that you're numb to it, but like It's like it just happens. It's just life.
You just
right?
know it's part of the process.
Well, it's just part of life. It just there's no way around it, right? First girlfriend breaks up with you, first boyfriend breaks up with you. Oh man, it's a big deal, right? Oh God, it's a huge deal, and your life is over. And you're like, yeah, whatever. No, it's not. First time a lot of things happen. They're big deals, and later on, it's like, meh. First kiss. Ooh, remember first kiss? You get your first kiss from a girl or a boy or whatever, right? And like you get it, and then now you get a kiss from your wife or husband or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, like every day of the week. No big deal. It becomes different. It just becomes a thing. So, the more time you have with these experiences, the less impactful they are, just because they're more common. So the more like for instance, if you want to be a competitor, if you want to get over like the nerves and everything else, best thing to do is compete more often.
Yep.
Like I was talking about my students, they competed one weekend, got smashed. Next weekend, fucking killed it because they just weren't worried about it. And they were like, all right, let's shake it off.
Yeah.
Right. Like go compete more. The more you do it, the more not a big deal it becomes, and in the gym, if you're one of those people that's afraid of being submitted, like go purposely get submitted in something, do it, go put yourself in the worst positions possible and just get submitted and like accept it. Because again, when you're free from the worry of being submitted, you're free from the worry of failure. Like your game does great things because you allow yourself to play in a different realm mentally. You can be excited about it. You can be ready to go. You're not playing with fear. Fear is a different place. Fear is a restrictive place. Fear is I'm worried about this. In like I think the Japanese term mushin no shin, right? Like mind no mind. Right. Like you got to be there, but you can't be mindful of it. So you're just being there, right? Like if you're worried about everything, like your mind, there's too many minds going on, right? You're worried about this, worried about this, worried about this. You just want to be there, experiencing, just going for stuff. And so if you are one of those people, and again, I say this because this is one of the things that helped me out, was putting myself in bad positions where being submitted and getting submitted wasn't a big deal anymore. And once it became not a big deal, my game got a lot better because I can just play free from worry. Like watch a little kid, watch a baby. They play with things. There's no right or wrong to it. They're just tinkering, and that's how they learn. And then, as they get into like 10, 11, 12, what's the right way to do this? What's the wrong? There's always a right and wrong because that's what they're taught, right?
Yeah.
So there's it's not the same, And so again, you got to kind of like break that up a little bit. Like with jiu-jitsu, it's not always a right or wrong way to do things. It comes down to like, what's your way? Like there's not always going to be just a way. There's lots of ways to get there. There's lots of roads to get there.
Right. No, that's a great thing about jiu-jitsu is there's a lot of, and everybody's not trying to accomplish the same thing. Some people are okay with, maybe losing a little more because they're older when they started and they're just doing it for exercise.
Maybe.
It just depends. I mean, I know
older guys do like,
they don't like to lose either.
Nobody likes to lose. That's the thing. Nobody likes to lose. I get messages from people all the time. Like, Chewy, I've been training for a couple months and I'm like, insert whatever age or gender you want to. And they're like, but I'm getting smashed. How do I stop this? And it's just like sometimes it's what has to happen, but nobody likes losing. Nobody goes into jiu-jitsu and says, you know what, man, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be the worst person in the class. And I'm going to be, I'm going to be so mediocre. It's nobody's business. Right.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is some people are better at accepting loss than others. Yeah. Yeah. That's probably it. I mean, nobody likes to. You talk about the story where you had the kids class and they weren't listening, right? They're all like getting into, like they were just messing around. You said, what did you say to them?
Well, I told them, I said, when I want to get my attention from my kids, I bring them in. I was like, all right, guys, because they're being rowdy, they're being wild, which I allow a little bit. I'll say, all right, how many of you guys want to get bigger, want to get stronger, you want to have more muscle, you want to be a world champion like some of the guys on the wall in our gym, you want to do all these different things. Who wants that?
Yeah, right.
Everybody raises your hands. All right, who wants to, get picked on by their bullies and not be very good at this thing and be weak and all this stuff? Nobody raises their hands, right? So I mean, like everybody wants to be exceptional, right? Now again, not everybody's going to be exceptional, but you can be exceptional for you. You can push yourself to be the best you can be, which is what matters.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to be not good. Nobody gets into anything because they want to be like, I really want to be not good at this.
Yeah.
But again, it's just one of those things where it just is what it is. But But yeah, that's what I do it with the kids, and that always kind of gets them to listen afterwards.
Well, I think it'll work. Yeah, I mean, just putting it in perspective. Like, why do you want to be bad at something? You don't want to do it. Nobody starts anything to be terrible at it. Nobody starts anything to like. I just want to, skate by and just get by. And jiu-jitsu is one of those things, man. It stings to lose, and so you definitely don't want to do that.
Everything stings to lose.
Everything that means something to you.
I mean, like, dude, I think just about anything. Like, dude, me and my buddies would play. I remember, like, probably almost like 10 years ago, playing like friggin' like a football game on a PlayStation or something, and
get so
mad at each other. It's like, dude, people get so mad about everything about losing. Like, losing just, I mean, look at people's, like, it's like they'll have the dumbest arguments about the things that are so inconsequential to their life, and man, they will get feisty over it.
Yeah.
I mean, do people just, like, whenever they dig in about something, like, they hate to lose. Everybody hates to lose. I don't know what that is, but people, it's not something that's unique to jiu-jitsu. I mean, jiu-jitsu is one of those things where I guess maybe it represents a certain level of vulnerability because you're being physically dominated by another human.
Yeah.
And it's just this thing that we begin to put a lot of time and effort into. And so, the more buy-in you have, the more meaningful it becomes. But when it comes down to it, I mean, the brass tacks is everybody hates losing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That's a great point. Like, why maybe jiu-jitsu may sting a little more than some other things. I mean, obviously what it means to you, but also it's like, like, can I handle myself? And then somebody comes in and they're like, they get the better of you. Like, it can piss you off. It pisses me off sometimes. That's, and then the next time I'm like, when I roll with that person next time, I'm going after him, and you get a different perspective on it. But yeah, I think that having somebody like maybe hold you down or get you inside control and just put you there and grind your face and you're like, oh shit, you get mad about that. And so I think sometimes even that, you just don't want to deal with that again. It's painful in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So we also wanted to kind of answer one question with you guys, and this was on Instagram. We got a while back, but it was from
the Jiu-Jitsu podcast Instagram.
Yeah, we got on.
So if you guys want to, if you want to do if you want to get a podcast question going, send it to the Jiu-Jitsu podcast Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram, or sometimes we'll get them on the Gmail or the Gmails, the email. So that's the Jiu-Jitsu podcast at gmail.com. But this was from Will.4017. He says, if you could go back and change certain things about your training habits to prevent injuries or future injuries, in particular chronic nagging injuries that develop after a while, what would you change?
To prevent injuries. Well, can't prevent injuries. Always.
Mitigate the risk.
Well, Will. So there's one thing that a lot of times injuries, the injuries that I've had tend to happen from overtraining or when I'm like forcing something through. So for instance, let's do the forcing thing through first. Let's say if I'm going from, I'm going for butterfly guard, I'm trying to sweep someone. I'm like trying to sweep them out, really kick out the leg, and I'm getting to like the like in range of motion as I'm kicking the leg, and I'm really flexing my leg out. I've had like little tweaks from that. I've had these tweaks from these big explosive movements, sometimes like bridges and stuff like that. So again, maybe not one of the things I don't do now, unless it's like a competition or something, or if I have to, is I don't rely on that kind of stuff. I try not to like muscle through things as hard as I can. If I feel like I'm getting to the maximal contraction of a muscle, I tend to just back off. Like, for instance, if I have someone swept and I almost have them, but I'm going to really have to put a little into it to get that last little bit, I just back off. Because I was like, first off, I probably didn't hit it clean enough. It's not as technical as I want it to be, and I don't want to risk it. Yeah. So a lot of times when I'm at that in range of motion with a push or a kick or whatever, when I feel like my body is there, I tend to back off. I don't want to force it. And then the other one is overtraining. So again, kind of going back to what we talked about in the podcast with this neuroticism of not wanting to ever lose, it forces you to want to train harder and harder and harder and harder. And you cannot possibly train any harder, right? I mean, I remember like when I was getting ready for my last MMA fight, I probably trained for that fight harder than I've ever trained for anything. I mean, I was training 4 hours a day. on top of like all my teaching, so I was training, you know, and I mean, I was lifting weights, doing extra cardio, jiu-jitsu and boxing, kickboxing, sparring, MMA sparring. I mean, dude, just training all the time.
Did you know it was going to be your last fight?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't know. I just was training real hard because the guy was tough. Like the guy that I was fighting was tough, and I had fear in me. I had fear like that lit a fire under my butt. So I was like, man, I got to be ready because if I play around, this dude's tough. I was like, I need to make sure I come in ready. And so I trained my tail off. And I remember, like by the end of the camp, I was like, man, I wonder if I could have done more. I physically could not have done more if I would have tried. I was just cooked. I was doing as much as I could. I was like Epsom salt baths every night, like training. Like I was just done, you know. But that mindset of that training like that hard, you can do it in spurts.
Yeah.
But the problem is jiu-jitsu doesn't necessarily have a season.
Yeah.
And that's a problem because what ends up happening is you try to train like that all the time, and then all of a sudden, boom, you start running into injuries. Right? I think that's one of the reasons why jiu-jitsu people run into so many freaking injuries is because they train so hard all the time. Like, what are you training for? Why are you training so hard? You know, and again, it's this thing where we're all competing against each other every day. So, well, if I start to back off a little bit, like maybe I'm going to back off for about 2 months and just kind of let my body recoup and train, but not train as hard. Some of these other people are going to start getting the better of you. So what do? You keep it up. You know, and so a lot of injuries. And so like one of the things I've gotten better with as I've gotten older is being able to undulate my training. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna take, like, for instance, I just got back from, I was training, but not hard. I was training I spent about a month training at a much lighter pace. Literally, I didn't force anything the whole month. I was like, if I was rolling, I would like work guard retention from the bottom. I'd literally just like, let me see if I can stop their passes. When I was passing their guard, I was trying to do this position. I was like, let me see if I can get to this position and just see what happens. Like if I passed, it would just happen. If I was swept, it would just happen. Otherwise, again, I got submitted, like trying stuff. But, again, my body felt fine. Yeah. And I'll start to turn it back up a little bit, But again, I get better at that because a lot of times it was that overtraining for a pretty long period of time, which led to a lot of my injuries, I believe.
I agree.
And so being able to recognize that and back off the pedal a little bit and be okay with accepting, going back to this idea of acceptance, being okay with simply saying, you know what? Like while I'm going down on this month-long or 2-month-long, like less training schedule than when I was training before, I'm going to get beat. It's just the way it's going to be. And it'll be all right afterwards because I can always turn it back up. And so I think that those would be the two things as far as training habits, because sometimes you simply just can't get away from issues. You're gonna get injured sometimes, but the overtraining and that neurotic mindset, of not wanting to ever lose, created some of it, and then trying to force things through, wasn't good.
Yeah, I agree with because you get injured kind of all the time. I mean, not all the time, but you get injured a lot more frequently. And you expect that somebody would get injured more as they get older. Mm-hmm. You got injured less as you got older. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, injury-wise, I would have tapped sooner. Like, I would eat certain submissions because I could. Yeah. But the cumulative effect of, getting your arm popped or getting it hyperextended over and over.
No bueno.
No, over time, you start having some issues. The tendons can get, little micro tears, you can get inflammation, you get just chronic, the joint starts to break down. So that's, I think, one thing. I remember one of the first, I was very, very new, and the guy got me an armbar. I literally stood up and tried to shake him off. And this was the old gym. And the coach, at the time, Mike was like, let him go. He was, because the guy was more experienced than I was, and I wasn't tapping. I mean, you're just grunting and you're trying just to deal with it. And so that's one thing. I would have tapped earlier or tapped out more frequently, probably, because I did get out of certain things, and it's one of those things that it's a little deceiving because I got out of it. I can do it next time. I can force my way, and it's okay to do that if the situation, say you're in a gold medal match at a tournament and you feel like you're safe to an extent, you're gonna get a little hyperextension or whatever, but. So that's one thing. I would have tapped earlier, and then
they're doing that all the time for 10 years. So yeah,
it catches up to you. And then the other thing is, just changing up my game. I mean, as a younger belt, like as a white belt, like you said, you get an A game, and you like, I'm gonna just play this A game. But like, I think I would have tried different. Instead of being like, oh, I'm gonna play guard all the time, or have grips, or this type of grips, have sleeve grips, for example. You know, that eats up your fingers. You know, having like sleeve grips, doing like a butterfly, or just not butterfly, but like a spider guard, or you know, anything where you're grabbing just sleeves a lot, or grabbing lapels a lot. So switching it up that way. And the other thing is letting go of grips. That's a big one. Like I would have a death grip sometimes on a lapel or collar or something, and like I wouldn't let go. And sometimes, and I got injured, I was screwing around. I was like, I would grab it and just see if I could hold it and let them pop off. And I hurt my hand like numerous times just messing around, just to seeing if I could. Because I would mess with people. I'd grab a cross collar, I'd stare at them. Just like see if you can. I would do this. It was Jeff Horn. I would mess with Jeff Horn, but he's nice to look at, so I didn't mind. No,
I'm sure you appreciate the stare.
Yeah, so I would mess with Jeff all the time because it made him uncomfortable. So I'd grab it, and one time he popped my fingers off, and I was like, oh my god. But that'd be the big thing, just varying up those things. But you don't, as a white belt, you kind of find a game that works for you, and you do that over and over.
You have to,
because you were trying to survive.
You have to.
So
I think once you're as a white belt, once you get past that A game, like I think once you're a blue belt area, like, and again, blue belt's an arbitrary thing that you get, but like just sometime where you're like, you know, you have a fair crop of people that you can beat, and there's still a lot of people to, you know, get beaten by. Then you start to play.
Yeah. Use
your A game against the tough people, play game against the people that you're better than, and so this way you're constantly learning new stuff, and you're constantly sharpening up your best weapons.
Yep.
You know, it's a good idea to do.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. But sometimes it's hard to do that because, like, I don't want to get. I've been getting crushed by these people. I'm going to go and you know, build my ego up a little bit.
Well, I mean, sometimes if you're getting ready for a competition, it should be all A game.
Yes.
But you know, again, it's one of those things where, you know, it's better to like play. I mean, you can still use your A game, but then you could be like, all right, I'm going to do, you know, my best guard pass, and then, you know, let's say your best position is side control.
Yeah. Okay,
well, instead of using side control, I'm going to use mount today. You know, like I'm going to try to submit for mount. Or, you know, I remember, like, I know I can hold the person in a full guard. Let me try to play like open guard.
Yeah.
And if it fails, I can always lock the guard back up.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, it's one thing. Looking back, you can see that it would be even beneficial. You know, not just injury wise, it'd be beneficial to expanding your game earlier, because you might find something, you might discover something like, oh, I never thought I'd be good at that, or I never thought that this would kind of integrate my game as well.
Well, and when you have different positions that you can go to, you can then kind of rotate the tires on your body, because then you don't have to use the same position that works the muscles in the same exact way, which can lead to overuse injuries and stuff. Like for instance, if you're a half guard player, you tend to like fight for underhooks, and your shoulders can take a beating. Well, then you could always go to like a sort of a full guard or a butterfly guard. Well, butterfly guards, you're not going to play the same positions, not going to take the same damage. Or being able to play top and bottom game. So, okay, I'm going to play more of a top game for a while. I'm not going to have the same types of injuries and positions with on my neck and my hips and everything else. And you can move it around a little bit because you have options. And so you don't have to play the same position over and over again. Only you can play other positions if you start to feel something. Like when I feel like my shoulders get a little janky from playing butterfly or half guard, I'll play a different type of guard. If that guard gives me a problem, I can always move to another one, you know, that kind of thing.
That, and then the other point is playing one side and the other side.
Left and right, sure.
Yeah, if you're playing half guard on one side, maybe your shoulder's getting a little irritated, play on the other side. Or your knee's getting a little irritated, you're playing butterfly and your knee gets a little, you know, a little sore, a little irritated. Because sometimes in butterfly you get compressed, you know, people compress you. So you're coming from that really bunched up position sometimes. But yeah, switching sides. And that's something I you know, you learn as you get more experience, but that's something I would do when my knees would kind of bug me. I try to guide my opponent to the other side. I try to make them kind of pass to the other side. Yeah, because you can kind of, you know, I was talking about that with somebody in morning class. Like sometimes I'll try to guide my opponent. You know, even though if they're really aggressive passer, I'll try to, you know, come
leave one side open.
Leave one side open, or leave, you know, because sometimes I'll use that. You know, I don't want to. If somebody's really aggressive, more aggressive than I am, I'll play back. I'm not going to always try to meet their aggressiveness. I'll try to kind of lead them into certain traps, if you will. And so that's you know, just modifying your game in that way is good. So.
All right, guys. that's the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you want to support the podcast, you can do so by going to charlottesweb.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu. You can save 20% on your order right now. So if you want to go get yourself some CBD products, whether it's a thing you've already done before or if it's the first time you're going to use it, you're going to take the 30-day challenge of figuring out what it feels like to you and seeing if it makes a difference or not. You can do that and take advantage of it and save 20% off your order. If you're going to head on over to Epic Roll and get yourself just some jiu-jitsu gear, whether it be a hat or a gi or a rash guard or a pair of Velcro-less shorts that are incredibly comfortable. You can do so. Use a promo code Jiu-Jitsu, save 15% off on the order. If you want to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. Right now, one of the newest updates at the time of recording this is a narrated breakdown where I show kind of, just like I was talking about, kind of rolling a little bit lighter and being a little bit more on the, I guess you'd call it flowy side and trying different stuff. That's what, for the most part, I'm doing in that video, and I break it down and narrate it and tell you what I'm doing and how I'm getting to certain positions and stuff like that. So if you'd like access to that, along with years of content, warm-up videos, stretching videos, lifting related stuff, rolling videos, the whole thing, podcast conversations with our guests. And also, if you would like to have a preferential treatment on when your question gets answered by the podcast, then you can go to that website. By the way, preferential treatment means that we will answer your question first if you're a podcast Patreon. So if you go there, we will get your question answered on the podcast, whether it be in a Patreon or on the podcast directly during one of our normal podcasts like today. So just kind of keep that in mind. And if you'd like to get on my email list, you can do so by going to jujitsu.net and then look for the little button that says free ebooks. Click that, and then you can get yourself some free ebooks, and you can jump on my email list, which I give a daily email out, and listen or read it and enjoy it and whatever else. A lot of people like it. I get lots of good messages from people. But if you don't like it, at any point you can unsubscribe, and I will never message you or email you ever again unless you resubscribe later on. That's that.
It is. And one more thing.
What? Oh, wait, there's more.
There's more. If you like us. If you don't like us. If you like me but not Chewy.
Well, if you don't like us, I don't know why you're listening still.
I don't know, then just, sometimes you listen to your haters, right?
Yeah,
Is that something you do? Is that something people do?
I guess. It's a hell of a long time to listen.
Yeah, but if you go on iTunes, give us an arbitrary 5 stars if you like that.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard our conversation on this. I'm like, there's like, because again, like there's not it's almost like the UFC's like judging criteria. Like sometimes you're like,
not
exactly, but like most of the time you're like, I have no idea what they're even judging. You're like, like some of these fights, like you're like, how did they judge that a 10-8 round based upon what?
I believe sometimes they use, figure skating judges.
Yeah. Well, this guy did kung fu in his backyard about 20 years ago.
He knows what's up.
But you'll watch these things and you're like, well, how do you decide that? And then like sometimes you'll see that where like someone will rate something and they're like, how do you rate like a lot of times I don't really pay attention to reviews because I'm like, I want to figure out what I like, because like I don't trust someone's 3-star review. 3-star based upon you gave it 3 out of 5 stars based upon what? 3 out of 5 is still pretty good, I think, right? I mean, it means like pretty good. I mean, it's over half, so we're at least talking about a passing grade.
There's no 2.5.
Huh?
There's no 2.5.
So you're over half, right? So you're at least it's like a C, right? And
I don't know.
Like, I mean, a lot of people that I know that like made C grades were awesome people. Some of my favorite people to be around.
I don't think we want 3 stars. That's not the goal. It's not the direction we're going.
No, what I'm saying is we want to. what we would like is a 5-star review. I would appreciate a 5-star review, but but the reason Eugene said arbitrarily 5 stars is because 5 stars is such a ridiculous thing.
Don't put this on me, man.
No, I'm not putting this on you. I'm just putting this on the thing. It's like, okay, what defines a 1, 2, 3, 4? Nobody knows. Someone just going, you know what? There's this one thing I didn't like about it. I'm going to give it 4. Or someone's like, you know what? I really hated this guy and he's stupid. He gets a 1. And then there's a lot of people you just like the stuff. So you're like 5-star. Like for the most part, if I like something, even if there's some things I don't like about it, I'll probably still give it a 5-star because it's like if I give it a 3. Then some person's going to go, oh, well, it must be something really bad. It's like, no, it's not terrible. It's okay. It's decent. It's worth a read, worth a listen, worth a buy. Right. But don't expect to be wowed by it, right?
Be wowed by us, though. We're wowing.
We're wowing.
We're wow.
We're wow.
We're wow worthy. Wow. Guys.
So give us a 5-star review.
There you go.
And,
Chewy said it.
Yeah. If you don't mind, if you got a second, if you're just driving along in your car, don't do it right now.
Pull over immediately.
Immediately pull over. Get off the road. Give us a 5-star review. It helps. It lets people know that we're worth listening to. And so again, if you're like, you know what, Chewy, I don't want to pay for that stupid Patreon of yours. I don't care about your rolling or listen to other stuff. That's cool, man. You do you. But if you're like, but if like, or maybe you're like, oh, Chewy, I don't have any money to give you. I totally understand. It's like the Tiny Tim. Oh, please spare coins, sir.
Oh.
I'm cool with that too.
We're definitely getting a 1-star after this.
Then what I'd ask you is just say like, hey, how about a 5-star review? It costs you like 10 seconds of your life. I know it's a long time, but I mean, you've been listening to us for a long time. And you're still listening to us right now, so we're eating up a lot more than 10. This whole thing could have been done with if you just gave us the 5-star review.
There you go. We've brought it around. We did it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys, and talk to y'all next time.